Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Dr. Rule Show. I'm your host, Dr. Franklin Rule, and today we critique Attack of the Killer Tomatoes from 1978, said to be one of the worst films ever made. But you'll have a chance to examine both its good and bad points. But first, the trivia question of the day. Let me extricate here from its paper prison. And most appropriately, the question is, what is the fear of tomatoes called? Multiple choice, inverse alphabetical order. Is that porphyrophobia, lycopericophobia, cyanophobia, or allurophobia? Now the only prize for the correct answer, one pat on the back that you'll have to administer to yourself. Heck of a lot better than a slap on the belly with a wet trout. Now, without further ado, with footage provided by noted videographer Benny Guzlin, full!
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Look at the giant tomato, Martha.
I didn't know they grew them so big, Jeff.
I wonder where he's going. He got little Timmy.
Poor Timmy.
He ate him all up.
Can you, believe how he wobbles on every issue?
Oh, right on. We'll never have another president as bad as this one.
What is it? Over there!
Do you read me? Do you read me? Go away! Go away! Do you read me? Do you read me? Oh, you have me now? Captain Bennett's goddamn secret. Nobody knows where the hell we are. Do you read? Help me! Oh, for God's sake! Give me that for God's sake! Will you keep it down for God's sake? You can't tell me to shut up. I quit. What? You can't quit. The department. I'm the department. I'm gonna die. You conceited little SOB. I'm gonna die. Good.
I'm glad you could make it, sir. I think we've got something that will interest you.
So I've been told. Dixon, I want you to see this. Captain?
Yes. Sir, we've captured a giant tomato.
I'm afraid, gentlemen, that what we have here before us isn't what we thought.
You don't mean...
This, may God help us, is a cherry tomato.
We have lots of pretty pickles waiting for you at the refreshment center. They're plump, tender, mouth-watering. Wouldn't one taste good right now?
And I have to commend them for the way they manipulated those tomatoes. But I have to say that after a while, seeing the tomatoes chasing humans became a bit tiresome. As far as the acting and writing, I'd say it was mediocre. So while not the worst movie ever made, certainly not the best. So on the rule scale, where first magnitude is best, 10th magnitude worst, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes garners a 7.5 magnitude rating. Yes. Now for that trivia question. What do we call the fear of tomatoes? Is that porphyrophobia, lycopericophobia, cyanophobia, or allurophobia? And you say lycopericophobia? Absolutely correct. Yeah! Award yourself one pat on the back. Congratulations. And for the record, porphyrophobia, fear of the color purple, cyanophobia, fear of snow, and allurophobia, fear of cats. Now, is it at all conceivable that such entities, killer tomatoes, might be created by science? Well, I point out that in the last decade, we've deciphered the human genome as well as the genomes of many other plants and animals. So, conceivably, geneticists working in the lab could splice genes from one creature or plant to another, creating various hybrids. Indeed, the flavor savor tomato has already been created. That's a tomato that has flounder genes in, so it has the taste of the flounder fish. Now, in the next 10 to 20 years, considering the exponential rate at which genetics progresses, we might see something akin to a killer tomato, perhaps a human tomato hybrid. Certainly possible. And if not on Earth, we have to consider the vastness of the cosmos. 100 billion galaxies plus out there, and of course, a timeline of 13.7 billion years. Certainly alien geneticists might have created some type of creature that we could call a killer tomato. And I point out, as an example, we had the 1950 classic sci-fi flick, The Thing, starring James Arness as a humanoid carrot. So a humanoid tomato somewhere in the cosmos, within the realm of feasibility, in my opinion. Then the other way they could come about would be through natural selection, through genetic mutations. Now, on Earth, we already have some unusual creatures we take for granted. For example, the porcupine with its spines, the giraffe with its 10-foot-long neck, and, of course, the octopus with 8 tentacles. Unusual creatures we take for granted. And a recent oceanic survey came up with some more oddities, such as the Lorenoferens, an entity that never uses oxygen, a totally anaerobic entity. There is a jellyfish that, when it reaches maturity, then reverts to the polyp stage and regrows, in a sense achieving a state of immortality. And there's the blobfish, that's basically a massive gelatinous material that floats in the ocean. And then there's the Yeti crab that has hairy tentacles. Unusual creatures. Certainly we could find equally bizarre entities on world after world outside of our solar system. And of course, one of those entities might just be what we would call a killer tomato. Perhaps a humanoid tomato or some other combo, but certainly within the realm of feasibility, in my opinion. Now, let's take a look at the Vault of Strange Deaths, and it says, the bears are eating cadavers. This is up in Komi, a republic in the Arctic Circle region of Russia, and starving bears have learned to unearth graves and then open up coffins and devour cadavers. Yes, they're devouring cadavers. Almost as frightening as the concept of killer tomatoes. Now until next time, may the power of the cosmos be with you. Yes, yes.